Hello everyone, and continuing on the series of early reviews, here we are today to talk about Kasumi, or Violet if you prefer, from the Persona 5 collaboration with War of the Visions. Here she is, I have her, congratulations, thankfully. She wasn't too much more painful after the stream, but still painful enough. So, sadness aside, let's talk about Kasumi and whether or not I think that she is good. And the honest thing is that early impressions that I have of her are pretty good, but not as strong as Astoria, which makes sense. I mean, collaboration characters definitely need to be good for the value and the time that they're around, but it should be said that while while collaboration characters should be good, limited fest characters should probably be better because they are harder to get. See my poll video if you would like more information on that. But here we are. Let's talk about Violet. Now, Violet is entering the game at actually a really great time for her because essentially light is on top, kind of, or light is on top enough that it isn't really a concern anymore for light to do evasion stuff. Evasion is just really powerful right now, and the light element is just boosting from so many good vision cards and so many things that it just absolutely needs. So I'm expecting really strong performance out of Kasumi, and as we talk about today, I think that everything in her kit is shaping up for her to be just an absolutely great unit. So first of all, you can see mine is only level 79s. I haven't had the good luxury of getting her up to 99 or 120 yet, like the friend unit, but I'll tell you right now that her HP caps around about 6,000, and that was on a really good friend build that was provided by Gumi. As for the attack, while spiking very early, does seem to cap out relatively quickly. The thing that I noticed really was that her attack was about 1400 attack, which is still really good, especially with a critical hit user, and that is probably why I am going to consider it just to be good enough, but definitely doesn't reach the heights of what other units have been able to get more recently. Taking a look at her speed, was about maxed out at around 100, which is what I would expect for a fencer type unit. Without really any agility buffs or anything, I'd say that this unit is pretty darn fast when you get there. As for her luck and dexterity skill, both end up being pretty nice overall. So let's take a look at a few extra details before we get going. First of all, she is running Fenrir. As we are about to show, she is about a 6 out of 10 with Fenrir, so not the max stats that she can get from this. Well, you may be wondering, why Fenrir? Well, I think Fenrir is always a pretty good sword esper, and pretty good at providing extra magic resistance, which I think might be useful for her build in the future. But taking a look at her resistances, now this is a little bit buffed because of vision cards as well as other things, but you can get a general idea. She does have a natural weakness to darkness, but our vision cards are buffing that quite nicely. You can see that she has slashing resistance, strike resistance, and a really nice resistance to magic on our current build. Primarily, this is effectively just making her really good against dark magic, which dark magic has some sure hit abilities, so that's kind of where my thought process was at. Not necessarily guaranteed that it's going to be totally effective, but I thought it would be an interesting idea for, a little bit of protection. Definitely not set on this build 100% yet. Now, taking a look at other things of note, I do think that piercing will be one of her scarier types of damage that she will get hit against. Also shooting too, but really sure hit abilities are the scariest thing for any unit that is effectively built around evasion. With this character reaching the not so lofty heights of about 6,000 HP, it is a little concerning. she does have the exact same problem of lock, where it's essentially evade or probably die. There are a lot of strong units in the game right now, and once we see level 120 Astorias start to hit locks, we'll have a much better idea for how viable the evasion game is going to be in the future. But sure hit abilities are really, really scary, and I think I've said that enough. Alright, so let's take a look at building this unit and what she has available. As you can see, her sub-jobs are a Fencer, which was recently introduced from Halloween Frederica, a class that I really ended up liking, and I'm glad to see it somewhere else, and Gunner, because all the Persona characters have Gunner, essentially. It's one of their unifying themes. Also, let's get into the TMR before I forget again. And this TMR is, in my opinion, much better than Astoria's in terms of just a flat TMR that you could get. So we don't know, because we are still waiting for the details on the actual full numbers from Wotv Calc. Right in the middle of this video, I'm just going to double check. No, not up yet, so good. That just means I can make up whatever details I want. This piece of equipment is really nice for a couple of reasons that are pretty obvious at the start. It's a natural evasion piece of gear, which once you upgrade this TMR with the upgrading system on the JP side, can stack a lot of evasion very quickly in the same way that Locke's TMR can. We also have critical evadance, which is important for her survival, HP, and a little bit of physical defense, which is all nice benefits. But the actual skill here is just better than Astoria's abstention. I was going to use an advanced word and I just totally flipped it. Anyway, it is a really powerful skill for not only herself but other units. So first of all, we're looking at AP recovery. There is no listing of how good the AP recovery is, but any AP recovery is just naturally strong in this game. Also has the effect of making it harder for you to be targeted by enemies. So yeah, this is actually a TMR that I would put on a ton of different units. First of all, it's not just relying completely on evasion or just going all in on evasion. It is making hate down a option too, which could keep this unit alive potentially a little bit longer. It's also giving them AP back while also using TP to generate AP. But yeah, I could see this being used on a lot of different characters in the future. I could see it being used on healers. I could see it being used on really important characters that you need to survive, maybe even lower tier characters that need a little help with survival. Long story short, this TMR is better, in my opinion, than Astoria's TMR, and is probably one of the best TMRs in the game, short of us seeing the actual full AP recovery that it is capable of doing, because I don't have it yet. Alright, now let's talk about her jobs, and I'm going to get the obvious one out of the way, the one that I am probably the least excited about, which is Gunner. So Gunner, we have medium damage with Beast Killer ability, we have Blackout, which can cause blindness or the dark status effect. She has aiming, which can improve shooting power and range. She has a Vice, which gives higher critical rates. She has the damage that can cause knockback by 1 square. Don't move status effect, which is kind of nice, and she has the counter of counter shot with range +2 and evasion rate down for a support skill, and increased shooting power for a support skill. Honestly, it's just for what I am considering of how to build Kasumi. I think that basically at this point I'm not excited about running her Gunner at all for any reason. Counter shot just isn't that great. Unless you're running all the shooting benefits, and I think you lose out too much of what is naturally good in Kasumi's kit. So I really don't like the Gunner class at all. I don't think you want to run her with high faith. I think you want to just run her low faith, capable of high bravery, and just running purely on evasion. Thankfully, however, her fencer job is much better at supporting this, with starting off with 2 support skills, one that increases critical rate and critical damage, and the other one that increases defense penetration rate and avoidance. Now, honestly, if you are going to be running an avoidance buff, it's really nice to just go effectively pretty supporting of it, and Fencer is just naturally capable of that. Her other one, though, is pretty nice too, being able to do more critical damage. From my early testing, she's very capable of dealing criticals even at her current level and stats. But also upping the critical damage seems like a really big benefit that we'll talk about in just a short bit. Alright, but there is something else to be considered that I want to just flip over really quickly, which is her other support skills. Now, she has 2 main ones from her main job. Declaration of a Death basically invalidates insta-kill. And while this will be useful in very specific maps, I don't think you need to be running this all the time, so it does open an option for either of her fencer abilities, and I could see arguments for either one. This is a nice thing to have, but it really is useful only in specific spots. As for her other one, increase attack and critical rate, this just is naturally good, and you'll probably want to be running it anyway. The only thing I really want to know is the percentages on this one, because it may just be better to run both of the fencer abilities, but we'll see once Wotv Calc updates. Alright, moving on, let's talk about the rest of Fencer really quickly. Racked Mirage, when damaged by a physical attack, the probability of preemptive hit rate for the target for 3 turns is reduced. It's fine. I don't think it's really that important. She seems to already have enough evasion support in her kit, so I'm not going to do that in favor, basically, of this. We'll talk about that in a second. As for her fencer ability, she has increased evasion rate and single attack resistance buff. She has Sharp Edge, which has a high chance of causing critical hits already, Attack Stance, which gives her a 3-turn move +1, and an increased critical rate. So just off of Fencer, she has a lot of support of her own critical rate, as well as her own evasion rate. As a matter of fact, I would say that Fencer is just really amazing at supporting her own natural capabilities, so Fencer feels very synergistic. Alright, moving on, she also has... Is this the one? No. It's lost somewhere in here. I haven't unlocked all the abilities yet. Let's just scroll around until I see it. There it is. Offensive and defensive integrated, increase attack resistance of allies within range centered around self, grant the effect of recovering AP when a critical hit occurs. She effectively has Cloud's ability, and this ability was really strong on Cloud, and it's going to be really strong on her. I think that with Locke and the luck buff from Locke's TMR as well, that the 2 units are going to be so synergistic, I can't imagine not running them together. But this is just really good for essentially a really high luck base light party. And the last one that she has is Hit Break, which is also really good. Damage to targets medium and hit rate down for 3 turns. This could be used to counter other evasion-based units and just make it a little more certain that she can win. Alright, so a very, very powerful Fencer subjob that I think is just amazingly synergistic. Now, let's finally get to her main kit, and we'll start with the counter ability. This is the one I think you're going to always be running. First of all, it is effectively counter attack when avoiding physical attacks. Given that she has a high evasion rate, lots of evasion buffs and everything, I think that it's totally fine to be running this skill. Also because it gets improved into her EX job when avoiding physical attacks, counterattack after increasing your own /attack resistance penetration rate. Allows her to effectively avoid an attack, attack back, huge range on it, and it also reduces slash resistance slash resistance on the target. It is just an amazing counter. You are definitely running this. Alright, sub part of her main kit is a little bit interesting because it does have a couple of buffs that are skills that are really nice. First of all, this one just increases light attack or light attribute attack. I'm not valuing this super high at the moment because of one very specific reason. There are already good light attribute attack up vision cards, so I feel that this is maybe a little superfluous. Nice skill to have, not sure I necessarily want it right now. And this ability, which up close is definitely much more recommendable, which is basically a 3-hit ability. It has really bad range on it, being essentially needed to be right by the enemy. But light has some of the best slashing chaining available in the entire game. I honestly think that this skill makes me consider running her sub ability, but for now I have to put it in the this would be nice kind of thing, but probably not going to use it because Fencer just seems better on the whole, but I could definitely see running her sub job. Now, as into the main part of her kit, we get in, first of all, an ability that increases her critical rate and critical damage for 3 turns. Very nice to have access to. Next up is this ability just is really not good. It's effectively damage to the target medium. It has no range on it. I don't think you're ever really wanting to run this all that much, and to my knowledge, doesn't get improved at all. So yeah, this ability, just let's move on to better stuff. Next up, this ability is a buff, gives a interesting little effect, increasing CT when a critical hit occurs to allies within range centered around self for 3 turns, increase avoidance rate of self for 3 turns. So it ups her evasion. It not only that, but it gives a CT boost if your opponent or if your party hits any kind of critical that get buffed by this. Essentially a speed status effect that is not a speed status effect that you can pair with agility to just go really nuts. Absolutely incredible ability, love it, and I think it will be really useful in raids and places where light can really leverage against high HP enemies, where we can get just lots of hits and criticals in. Alright, next ability. Oh, we got a pop up on my screen. Let's get rid of that. Please go. Paralysis effect on a target with 2 consecutive hits if a critical hit occurs after a defense down on target. So this is a multi-hit ability. It's already very good, and it has the paralysis effect, but it does have a bonus for getting a critical in, which is effectively defense down on the target as well. This ability is just great. It has great range on it. It has, it supports light chaining, and it actually has, I think, an incredibly high chance of getting the defense down because, again, she is just so good at criticals, is what I have noticed so far. And last ability, this ability, I just love these always. Big AoE, 34 AP cost, really quite nice. Damage to medium targets within range, reduces AP when a critical hit occurs, seems to be hitting currently at about a level 11, about 12 AP down, which probably means that it will hit about 15 AP down on the target. I think this is good for farming because it's just a massive AoE, its cost isn't necessarily too incredibly high, and yeah, it's just capable of reducing enemies' AP, which means they can't use skills against you. Fantastic. And last, let's scroll all the way up, take a look at her EX. As you can see, she has an attack node up here, but her final job ability, as you can see, is a buff, survive once, even if you take fatal damage. And this is the final piece of the puzzle that I think makes this unit really great. Gut status effect with an evasion unit. Sometimes you do get hit with a sure hit ability, and that can be absolutely just it can end basically your unit. So having guts on a unit, having re-raise on a unit can be can effectively survive that sure hit, and then maybe you just don't get hit again. It's really, really good. I don't know what else to say. It's fantastic. Whatever, man. It's Kasumi is just a great unit. So let's get in, and we'll run 2 missions with her. We'll run one just trying to see what how she fares in this light elemental party, and then we'll also run one where we do a little bit more of the damage ourselves. But while we're letting it auto run, we'll just get into the review here. Like, a light evasion DPS is just really good. Also, don't worry, they fixed this flashing effect for anybody who is scared about that. Pros: this unit is just strong and synergizes effectively with what we want to see from a light elemental character at this point. If you look at like Lucio and Elsie and now Kasumi, there's so much light chaining that it's just kind of disgusting. I think you can leverage so much from these elemental chains that are capable from these characters. Kasumi has just big AoEs. She has a lot of different effects that just do a lot for making her really, really survivable. Apparently, we're not having any luck evading stuff, so it's just my luck so far in 2022. Like, she does have an avoidance kit. Fencer feels so synergistic with her main kit that it feels a little unfair for just how good she is capable at leveraging what that class is capable of doing already. Range from Gunner is nice. I'm not necessarily over the moon about it, but at the same time, I'm not going to complain too loudly. It gives her access to being able to, like, it effectively gives her access to higher range, which is really nice, but it doesn't necessarily, improve her enough that I think it is really worth running all that often. Seems just really great at critical hitting the enemy. Her kit is built around it, and a lot of times that can be a little bit worrying, because it's just like, will she actually be able to reliably crit the enemy? From all of my testing thus far, I would say yes, very much so. But sure hit units are definitely going to be a problem for her until she gets to job level 25, when she is effectively able to protect herself a lot better. It's a little bit concerning about whether or not she will be able to really, really excel as much as I want her to. So let's just run that. And let's just kind of see what her evasion is at right now. Yeah, her evasion right now just isn't quite good enough, because I don't have her fully increased, which is a little sad, but it hasn't even been 24 hours that this has been out yet, so it is what it is. Alright, let's show off the limit burst. As you can see, the limit burst of what she is capable of dishing out for damage, even early on, is really good. Her stats, her abilities to do chains are really, really powerful. Yesterday when I was testing out the friend unit, even by herself, even self-chaining, she was able to hit well over 10,000 damage, even into 15,000 damage based on how much speed she was getting over an enemy. So that is just maybe like the thing that I like the most. Let's try her limit burst though. I do believe we have animations disabled. Well, shoot. And unfortunately, also, none of these enemies are strong enough that we can really do it. But you can see, just light is capable of dealing a lot of damage, and I think their slash capabilities is going to be even better in the future. Once we get all of these characters looking much maxed. Much maxed, yeah, that's what I chose to say. go over here and just see what she is kind of capable. Even on a regular attack, see? Like, the boss just got hit, got the self-revive, but we're still in the chain, so we're still dealing a lot of damage. Unfortunately, as you can see, the AP cost is still a little bit high. Probably needs a little more help with AP generation, so you might be needing to run bells on her. I don't know. That is a little bit of a concern for the future, possibly. We don't like snakes. But yeah, we are not getting lucky with the evasion. I assume it's just because she's not quite there yet, but, well, future builds, we'll figure it out. Alright, so what do we have access to? We can do that one, we can do that one. And her basic attack, which is less than exciting. Oh, I just closed the game. That's never happened before. Skip a whole bunch just to get back in here, and we'll show off her AoE to kind of finish this video. So yeah, Kasumi is definitely a really, really powerful unit. I really like her a lot. I think that she fits incredibly well with what Light is currently doing. I think that Light has a really, really strong repertoire of characters right now that are effectively just dealing that are really, really good at dealing with a lot of enemies, and Light chaining is about as strong as it's ever been. Really, it depends if Astoria takes over and evasion just becomes just like Light just kind of takes it away. Alright, so we'll show off her limit burst to end the video. But yeah, I really, really like Kasumi thus far. I think that she is a very powerful character, a very welcome addition to my team, and I'm only just curious, like, how much better she will get over the future as we test her out and see what she is truly capable of. And yeah, I was not expecting her evasion to be that bad in this video, but I'll work on it and see if I can't get it better. Anyway, thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next one.